Good morning, everybody. So, first out, I'm so nervous because Eric is not here. So, please, no technical difficulties. Good morning, everybody. Happy post Thanksgiving. I don't know about you, my refrigerator now. Well, I've emptied it of all the leftovers. I kind of hung on to a few things. We still have some turkey, so I think I'm going to do something with the last little bit of turkey that we have left. We did cook a big old 27-pound turkey, and honestly, it was fabulous. So I still have some of that left over. I think last night the last thing I had was some leftover. We do a sweet potato casserole. So growing up, we had candied yams, right? That's what my mom would make. She'd boil the sweet potatoes and slice them and then, coat them with the brown sugar and the butter and all the deliciousness. And then at the very end, we'd top it with the marshmallows. But my family doesn't really like those. It's really just Elizabeth and myself that really like them. And so I found it easier to make a sweet potato casserole for the holidays instead. It was just easier and faster. I could make it before, put it in the refrigerator, and then just cook it instead of, anyway. So we had some of that left, but I've had about as much of that as I can handle. Anyway, so quick question before we get going on our day. Because I've actually always wondered this, we're so drawn to what it is that we grew up with as far as what do those holiday meals and traditions look like. And we would typically have the same meal like at Thanksgiving, and then we would kind of, the sequel would be at Christmas. We would kind of cook the same thing. But I'm curious if everybody else does the same thing. Like obviously more traditionally, you have the big turkey and the stuffing and mashed potatoes and green beans and all of that stuff for Thanksgiving. But do you repeat the same meal for Christmas, or do you have something completely different? How does it work for you? Because honestly, I am very, very curious because sometimes if I even think of or consider making any changes to our tradition, I kind of have some emotional angst over it because so much of it is tradition based. But candidly, when we're together for the holidays, we don't have our extended family with us. My dad passed away. My mom lives in Virginia and is not going to come visit us. And the rest of my family is back in Virginia, meaning, siblings and things like that. So they won't be coming. We don't go there. It's just way too difficult to get our whole crew there. So when I say tradition, it really is our little nuclear family. It's me and it's Eric and it's our 4 children and their significant others and spouses. And that's pretty much it. We have friends, obviously, Daryl and Jen, the Ross family. They are our family here, and they come and they spend Christmas with us. We have a nice meal together, usually on Christmas Day. But anyway, I'm curious, so let me know. That being said, good morning, and here's my coffee cup today. I'm not sure where. I don't know. This looks like a Home Goods, if you ask me. I honestly don't really know. But anyway, it's blue. I'm wearing blue, so I figured I would match today. So we do not have, who was it that mentioned, oh, wait a minute, I have to go back to it because I was like scrolling through. Ooh, prime rib. Ooh, who said that? I saw prime rib somewhere. Daniel and Erica, you have prime rib for Christmas? May I invite myself? Okay, I'm just kidding. Hey, oh my goodness, look at all these people. I love you guys so much. All right, let me go back. Who was it though that said, somebody said it was cold. Oh, there it is, Roger. Yes, from Chile, Illinois. So I am so sorry, my friend, that it's chilly there. We have, honestly, I don't need to be wearing long sleeves because it's pretty hot again. We had a couple days of chilly weather, which I loved. That's when I was opening the window and letting that brisk air come in. But, we're back to Florida weather again, which really is kind of a bummer. But at any rate, so we have a lot going on, a lot to catch you up on and a lot to talk about. We've got some great questions. Sharon, you put one in early that I'm going to reference here in just a minute. But yeah, so Eric, so here's the issue. So our family has a lot of logistical challenges, and we always have. As soon as the kids went off to college, once Forrest and Alyssa kind of went away, and then when we moved to Florida, it became a logistical nightmare of trying to get everyone home for the holidays without having to drive. Sometimes you can fly, but Forrest has Scout, and Scout will not fly. So they drive, which means from Virginia, they have to drive. When he was in Texas, that was a really long drive. That was not a 1-day drive. That was, that took some choreography. But we still kind of have those logistical challenges. Well, Eric is not here because okay, so let me get, first of all, hold on. Everyone have your sip. Okay, so story is, so we had, well, oh wow, this was crazy. So my daughter Alyssa and her husband Hong went to Virginia. Coincidentally, I think I mentioned this last week. They went for a wedding, right? We talked about that. Coincidentally, it was close to where my son Forrest lives. So they all drove back last Sunday. Not yesterday Sunday, but a week ago Sunday. So Forrest was here with Scout. So those three with the dog drove back from Virginia. So they were all here for Thanksgiving. But then Forrest flew back on Friday because he was originally planning to go see the UVA Virginia Tech football game. Obviously, that is pre-tragedy at the University of Virginia with the football players. And ultimately, they decided to cancel that game. However, Forrest and his friends decided that they would still continue their pre-planned trip, and they would go go spend some time in Blacksburg. And but by him flying out, that meant we needed to get his car and his dog back to Virginia. So then Eric drove on Saturday. Seriously, our life is chaos. So Eric is, long and short of that story is that Eric is currently in Richmond with our son. Everyone is back safely. Well, they are at Forrest's house in Virginia with Scout, who was a trooper for a really long drive. By the way, do not drive Thanksgiving weekend if you don't have to. I think Eric said it took him like at least 3 hours longer to get home because of traffic accidents and traffic jams. And then my son coming back from Blacksburg, same thing. He got delayed. It was at least an hour or so because he was supposed to be back sooner than he got there. But at any rate, Eric will be flying back later this afternoon. So I'm going sort of solo, although my daughter Elizabeth is upstairs. She's on standby. She's heading back to college after coffee time is over, but she's corralling the dogs. I am panicking, making sure I hit all the buttons correctly. So if we get disconnected, I love you, and just join in later. Okay, so that being said, if you have questions, as a reminder, put a capital Q with a colon. That will help me go back and search them. If I did not say good morning to you already, like personally through the little chat thing, then good morning, everybody. So we have a lot to talk about today, but I did want to go over Sharon's question because it was very early. So let me do this one. So Sharon said, are there any new construction coming in 2023 that I'm excited about in the Horizon West area? And the answer is, oh yeah, baby. There's a lot of excitement happening. Horizon West is made up of villages. Not the villages, which is the 55 plus, totally different thing. But the Ovation Village really is the newest. And that's where the Del Webb Oasis is. That is where West Haven at Ovation, that Ovation, Encore at Ovation. Ovation is the village. So out in that section, there are some communities that we have talked about. We've got clients that are contracted there that are just twiddling their thumbs, waiting for all of that to get rectified. Excuse me. But yeah, so we've talked about Del Webb Oasis quite a bit. Love the 55 plus community there. A bit pricey, but so worth it. Encore Ovation has been there for quite a while. That's the MI Homes community, so obviously still excited about that one. We have the Heritage Ridge with Meritage. We have clients that are contracted there. That is actually well underway. The model is built. They just don't have, the model is not open yet, but they are certainly well into construction in that area. Those are really just the bungalows. They're rear entry garage style homes. But some of the communities that we haven't really talked about yet, there's a Dream Finders community called Serenity at Ovation. That's going to be really exciting. Really excited about the Dream Finders communities that are already here in Horizon West. And I have to tell you, being out with clients recently, each builder kind of has a different feel and a vibe on what they want the aesthetic and the overall feel of their community to look like. And in most cases, not all, because remember, I don't speak for the builder. I'm not in on those secret meetings with those people making the decisions. But in the communities here in Horizon West, in Wincy Groves, in Sanctuary at Hanlon, in Lakeside at Hanlon, those communities do not have amenity centers. They are communities, actually they're fine in size. I say they're medium sized. They're not super duper small. They're also not super grand like Waterley or like Summer Lake, but they're just a nice, comfortable community sized development. And but they don't do amenities in the sense of a pool and amenity center with the fitness center and the clubhouse and all of that. That doesn't mean that they don't build them, because of course they do. It just depends on the communities. But I have noticed that in the Horizon West area, they typically do not have the amenities. So that's always a question. Like if you've ever reached out to me before, we talk about whether or not amenities are important to you. Because a lot of people are like, well, no, we're going to build our own pool. And once you've built your own pool, you probably don't have a real purpose for the community amenities. And I think that's what some of the builders' mindsets are, which is if you're going to build your own, then why would we increase your HOA fee to a larger amount on a monthly basis for amenities that you're not going to take advantage of, especially if the community is medium sized? Because remember, it's divided amongst those homeowners. So if you have a massive community like Waterley, that's fantastic. You can have these elaborate amenities and your HOA fee is still very reasonable and palatable, right? But at any rate, so some of the other communities. So we talked about the Sanctuary at Ovation. There's Harvest at Ovation, which is the Taylor Morrison community. I have had a lot of people ask me about this community. And again, I don't work for the builder. I get some information, of course, but sometimes the information isn't even really released until it is definite. And to my understanding, and this has been months and months and months ago, that the product line, the homes that they were going to be building in the community was going to be the same or similar to the ones that they had at Enclave at Hamlin, which was some front load garage style homes, and it was some of their bungalows or their rear entry garage style homes. So until we have all of that completely mapped out, or until they don't ask me, until they have that all mapped out and definite, then they'll release everything. The other thing to note is about pricing. They're not going to give us pricing until they're ready to release it, because they don't know what the price of the building materials are going to be when they get a little bit closer to that release. So anyway, so we said Heritage Ridge. I wrote them down just to make sure I didn't forget anybody. So North Lake at Ovation, that's another one we haven't talked about. That's Ashton Woods. So North Lake at Ovation, Ashton Woods. Heritage Ridge is Meritage. We've talked about that one. West Haven at Ovation, Toll Brothers. Del Webb, we've talked about that. Encore at Ovation's been there for a while. Harvest at Ovation, Serenity at Ovation. So those are some of the ones that I'm excited about seeing, especially some of the new ones where there's still just signs and nothing's really happening. But it'll be exciting to see how the Ovation Village kind of grows and thrives here over the next year or two as the communities start to get developed. So anyway, all right, so let's get into what's brewing. Don't forget, if you have questions, ask. I know Eric, he's probably yelling at me from Richmond going, push the button, push the button. Okay, guess what, honey? I'm pushing the button. Okay, so Thanksgiving recap. So this is our What's Brewing topics today. Thanksgiving recap, World Cup, and homes for the holidays. So we talked a little bit about Thanksgiving, but I didn't really give you the full scoop. So here is the lovely little composite picture that Eric did before he left. So excuse me, there's the turkey. Again, 27 pounds. I will tell you, it was really one of the best ones. Even now, several days later, it is still really, really good and tasty. It's not dried out. It's not kind of chalky they get sometimes. Really, really good. So I'm proud of that. And I think last week I also showed you a picture of the turkey that my son Forrest cooked for his Friendsgiving back in Virginia before he left to come here. He had a very successful turkey. He said even post Friendsgiving, he was getting messages from friends who were eating turkey with their family, giving him some kudos that his was pretty awesome. So anyway, happy the turkey turned out well. Hopefully yours did too. No, we don't brine. No, we don't deep fry it. We do it old school. As you can tell there, we roast it. I do have some tricks that I do that no one taught me. I just kind of figured, and I have to tell you, knock on wood, the turkeys always turn out pretty good. So these are just a couple of other pictures. That's Forrest. That's our oldest from Virginia. The middle picture is us upstairs playing Wingspan. It is an absolutely amazing board game. We are a very big board game family, mostly because of Forrest. It was one Thanksgiving he came home and he brought a bunch of games, and we've just kind of made that a little bit of a tradition. It's something that we love to do. So we were playing Wingspan. That's what the middle picture is. There was a time he and Elizabeth, that's the two of them with the $1 million dog Lucy, out on the lanai. That is on Sunset Rock. Now I want you to take a look at what they're sitting in. They are sitting in the furniture that we ordered for the pool. So finally, those glider rockers came in. The tables were finally delivered. Now we're still waiting on the umbrella holder, but you know what? We'll wait on the umbrella holder. So we have that. So we had some nice times. We got to sit out by the pool. We had the fire pit going. We had a lot of fun just sitting outside playing around with the LED lights. Sorry, that was my phone beeping. The LED lights in the pool, kind of playing around. The dogs loved it. I believe that is, no, that's Lucy in that picture. But if you look in the bottom right hand corner, that is a picture of shingles. So God bless my poor son-in-law, Hong. When they were coming back from Virginia, from the wedding that they went to, he said that Thursday night he wasn't feeling very well. It was a lot of pain in his side. Well, he had just had his wisdom teeth out, I don't know, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, a weekish before that. So we're thinking, okay, well, it's some residual something with the wisdom teeth. When they drove back on Sunday and they got here that evening, we could just tell he was in a lot of pain. He kind of had a little bit of a rash up here in his cheek, but didn't really pay any attention to it. And then he was so bad one night, he said he was about to call the ambulance because he was in such pain and he couldn't figure out what was going on. And they thought maybe it was dry socket from the wisdom teeth. And then he went to that person and they did x-rays. And long and short of it is that he has shingles and an infection. So the poor guy was dealing with post-wisdom teeth pain, infection, and shingles. And one of the shingles, I believe, was in his ear. So his entire face, and he said his eye got numb. And that was one of the reasons that he was a little bit more concerned. So he, I believe, is working from home today, although he is a very dedicated person. And when I say working from home, he is truly working from home. So we felt just horrible because Hong and Alyssa did not get to spend as much time with us over the weekend as possible. Totally understandable because he was just not in great shape. And it basically hurt our heart. So they did come and eat and they came one night and they played a game. But other than that, he just needed to rest and recuperate and he's still not over it. So guess what I'm going to do this week? I'm going to go get a shingles vaccine. I had just been thinking about that. And it was kind of uncanny timing because I had just been thinking that, oh gosh, you know what? I really should schedule Eric and I to go get our shingles vaccine and maybe the flu vaccine, or the flu shot. And then, I was going to ask him, do we need another COVID booster? Because I'm not sure. I heard there was another booster that we should get. So anyway, all of that was on my mind. And then find out that Hong gets it. That really kind of crushed my spirit a little bit because he's way too young to get shingles. But anyway, he's recovering. And if you haven't, maybe get the shingles vaccine. I've heard it's very, very, very painful. So anyway, okay. So that was that part of it. And then the second, what's brewing. Did I go over everything for Thanksgiving? I think I did. World Cup. Okay. So this is important because my boys are huge soccer fans. Both of my boys played soccer for us, played it, all through school, elementary school, middle school, high school, junior. Well, I guess it was middle school. Played kind of like intramural, like at college for fun. Dawson has played. He's played for years and years and years. He just stopped was it a year ago? Maybe a year and a half ago. He stopped playing, but big soccer fans. Eric coaches. Eric actually created a soccer club, Yorktown FC, back in Virginia before we moved. He ran that for a few years, all volunteer based. Go Eric, support the community. But World Cup. So USA versus Iran is Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is a really, really important game for the U.S. We kind of have to win it to stay in it, is as what they say. So hopefully your chosen team, if it's not the USA, I know we've got some international people here, so hopefully you're doing well. I was told, Eric, by the way, he's been texting me through the phone because he's not usually here to yell. And this is really, really important. Sorry about that. Okay, that was weird. So Eric's usually over there and I can yell to him, but I can't yell to him, but he did tell me that at the moment South Korea was losing. Is that right? So, and we would root for South Carolina, South Korea for Hong. But at any rate, hopefully everyone is enjoying the World Cup. I know that my boys definitely are, and I can tell you we definitely will be watching tomorrow at 2 p.m. So anyway, all right. So that is that part of it, and then the other part is homes for the holidays. So back to real estate, and again, throw your questions in there because we're going to talk about your questions here in a minute. But homes for the holidays, we asked kind of what you were looking for our home homes for the holidays for this year. You know, in the past, we've done them. We did 24 homes, 24 days up till Christmas Eve. That was a little grueling. Then I think the next year we did like 12 homes for the 12 days of Christmas. And then last year we kind of took you through the building and the finished, well, sort of finished product of our home that we're in now. And then this year we were kind of getting some input as to what you would like to see. So we have determined that Eric has determined that December 10th through the 24th, we're going to do 5 model homes, 4 live streams, 3 inventories, 2 Sunday drives, and a tour of our home at Christmas. Yes, I'm sure you probably were singing that along in your head. So this is our plan. As always, the disclaimer, we reserve the right to change our mind if time or things do not warrant. But this is definitely our plan. Should be relatively easy for us to do in the grand scheme of things, as long as we don't want to have any other life outside of real estate. We can make it happen. So yeah, we're going to do 5 model homes. We're not going to tell you where they are yet. 4 live streams. Obviously, we're going to be doing our coffee times. We're going to find some inventory homes that are completed and ready or near completed and ready to show you. Obviously, we'll have a couple of Sunday drives thrown in there. And then and this is my disclaimer, because he threw this one in there and I think that's fantastic, but we have to time this one out right, because that means my whole house has to be clean. Like if we're going to like give you a tour of the home, by the way, our home is still not done. Like not completely, you know, there's still things, but it is definitely further along than it was when we did this last Christmas for you. So that is our plan, my friends, to get you through. Hi.
I was told to interrupt. South Korea just tied 2-2.
South Korea just tied 2-2?
Yes.
It was me. I did it. I wish them luck. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. Elizabeth just came in from upstairs. She's upstairs, like I said, with the dogs. Oh, that's fantastic. Yay. I know. All right. So I'm sure that Forrest and Eric and everybody are like, could you please end this so that we can continue to watch soccer or football? Anyway. Okay. So tell me, I'm going to come in here real quick and see if I can find any questions that I can answer. I don't think I have any. Are there any other questions? If there are, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to zoom right along, because I want to talk about what I'm watching. Okay, so we just finished actually yesterday, Elizabeth and I. This was a little treat that my daughter Elizabeth and I did since she's been home for Thanksgiving from college. She was here for, a few days. She's, like I said, she's heading back. So we watched the Netflix series Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family. Yes, you're all singing it and snapping in your mind. But it was eight episodes. So we figured that was something that we could manage, do a couple episodes a day. And yesterday we did the last 2 episodes. So we finished it. And I would tell you, it's really good. I liked it very, very, very much. It was the perfect one to kind of, just kind of watch with family. If you've got younger kids, it's totally fine. It's a cute little story. Anyway, so that was fun. But what we didn't put up here, and what I also finished, Eric, you're cute. What I did finish as well, and I don't remember, I have to be completely honest, I don't know if it's my age and I'm just forgetting like stuff, or if it's just because honestly my mind is constantly going, and so I can't really remember. But last I don't know what we said I was watching last week, but I watched Dead to Me, which Christine Applegate. So I did finish that one. That was 3 seasons. What's weird is I thought I had watched the whole first season of that, and it turns out I'd only watched the first episode, and I was like, oh, I like this. So at any rate, I did go back and I watched seasons 1 and 2 and finished up season 3. And again, sounds like when I talk about what I watch, I know you guys think, does she ever do anything other than, yes, I do. I like constantly, that's all I do is work. But I have my tradition of, unless I've got a morning appointment, I get up early when I get my son out for school. By the way, speaking of that, this is both wonderful and awful all at the same time. My son, when he goes off to high school in the morning, he gives me a hug goodbye, which I love. I treasure that. But he's also just sprayed the cologne. So he sprays the cologne and he gives me a hug, and the rest of the day I smell like a teen boy. So anyway, but I can smell it. But anyway, that was just where I was going with that. I can smell my son. But anyway, when I wake up in the morning, if I'm up early before I before I physically feel like I have to work, I give myself an hour to have my cup of coffee, or 45 minutes, usually an episode. Have my coffee, 45 minutes, watch an episode of whatever it is I'm watching. And then when I go to bed at night, I'll watch 2 or 3, because honestly, I go to bed pretty early. Generally speaking, when I say go to bed, I mean I go get in the bed and then I sit there and kind of decompress, because again, introvert, and that's what we have to do. We have to go be quiet by ourselves, decompress, and I'm still texting on my phone. But anyway, okay, so all right, you guys are hysterical. You are absolutely hysterical. Okay, so I'm looking at this. So Eric wants to know, what did I get Eric for his birthday? Well, just so you know, you're going to find out. So, and then what's funny is, Quentin, you said, what did I get Eric for his birthday? So I think you guys are in cahoots with one another. Y'all just want to know what I got Eric. So Eric's birthday is coming up, first week in December. And he, sometimes, I won't say it gets overlooked. He would probably say it gets overlooked. It's just because we're so much in the throes of Christmas that, you know, it's probably not as big and as celebrated as you might think. But I'm on it, my friend. You got something coming, several things coming, and you'll find out when you get home. Anyway, so I'm not telling you what it is, though. Kim, you just said you just finished watching The English on Amazon Prime. Okay, cool. I actually was going to ask you guys, too, for some other options, because candidly, I get so tired of seeing the same ones, you know, be recommended, that I don't know where I should go next. But yes, Dead to Me. Yes. Did you watch it, Kennard? Yes, it was really good. And you know, I mean, I'm sure we are all of different age demographics, probably on the little comment chat thing, those of you watching. But if you are around about my age, then you probably remember watching Married with Children when Christina Applegate was, you know, the teenage daughter, right? That she was kind of, well, I don't know. I mean, she was kind of like hardcore a little bit, very cute. That whole show was hysterical. And then just to see Christina Applegate kind of as this beautiful woman, and then the wonderful things that she's done since then. And then of course, with her health issues she's got going on right now. In fact, it was really interesting. I think her birthday is November 25th. And I only know that because, as probably some of you do, when I was watching like the end of Dead to Me, I kind of like, you know, Googled. I was like, oh, I wonder like how many kids she has. Like, you know, I was just, you know, I was being nosy. Because I'm not really a celebrity type, you know, woohoo person. I probably wouldn't recognize half the people if they were walking down the street, unless it was Jason Mraz. I would totally recognize Jason Mraz. But anyway, yeah, so I just was looking it up, and I noticed it was her birthday. I was like, oh, that's cool. So anyway, so I think she must have just had a birthday, but I think that series was amazing. So if you haven't watched Dead to Me, watch that. It was just so well acted, and I'm not a theater, you know, critic, but wow, that was amazing from both of the stars in that. So anyway, I'll be quiet about that. So Eric says, did I watch the Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie yet? I really want to know. Can I be honest? I started, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. I'm sure it's lovely. I'm sure it's wonderful, but I only got maybe 10 minutes into it. And if you don't get me within 10 minutes, or if I have a adverse reaction to it, I'm like probably not going to go back and revisit it. So no, honey, I did not watch it, but I did try. I gave it a hot moment. Oh, and then Sydney, yes, I did watch that, The Noel Diary. I just watched that when I finished Dead to Me. I didn't have anything else to watch. I think night before last, I went to bed. Eric wasn't here, so I tend to not sleep as well if he's not here, so I stay up a little bit later. And I did watch that. I liked that one too. I really did, Sydney. Yay, that was a good one. All right. All right. Whoa, Eric says go Ghana. Oh, go Ghana. Nah, it's not good. 3-2. Oh no. How much time do we have left in the game, honey? Let me know how much time is left in that, because I think there's time for them to come back and tie it again. Took that goal well, Eric. All right, guys. So let's go on to our Zillow home of the day. Okay, so I am told, so I am told that this is Taylor Swift's former like apartment condo thing, and this is for rent for just a measly pocket change of $45,000 a month. Okay, first of all, who has that much money a month? A month. Like a month to rent. Like, I don't even understand that. I can't wrap my brain around that. But anyway, but let's take a look at this. Hopefully he has it on a loop. But at any rate, okay, so I mean, I will say, I'm sure it's wonderful. I'm sure it's lovely. Taylor Swift was there. So if that excites you, which I mean, she's fabulous, very, very, very talented. But is it really worth 45,000 a month for rent, or is it because she once was there? I don't know. But I mean, I guess it's pretty cool. Now, I don't live in New York, never lived in New York, but I know that it's very expensive. I'm going to center myself to live in New York. So maybe that's normal and commonplace. I don't know. Those of you that are from New York, you tell me, is that kind of the norm? Because if that's it, no wonder I don't live in the city. I will say it's quite lovely. I mean, it's certainly very new and updated and kind of sleek. Sometimes when you see buildings and like brownstones and things like that, you feel like the interior is going to be really, dilapidated and falling apart. But the reality is they're not. Was that a pool? Was that a pool inside there? I think it was. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of a cool, interesting Zillow gone wild. Definitely an interesting place to rent, again, for $45,000 a month. I mean, most people don't make $45,000 a year. Like a year, so much less a month to pay for rent, to have nothing to show for it at the end. Like, I can't understand that. But at any rate, by the way, if you have $45,000 a month to spend in rent, please call me at 407-848-8042 and let me help you find a home. And then you can actually really have something to show for it at the end of it. And you know what? With my money, I will, as a closing gift to you, I will find some, Taylor Swift autographed something or other, and I will give that to you as a closing gift. So you can buy a home and have a Taylor Swift photo in your home. How about that? Is that good? Anyway, Eric said there's a bidet in every bathroom. Sydney says New York is ridiculous, especially for celebrities in the well up. There was, I think I mentioned this in maybe our Halloween one. I remember years and years and years ago when I had the time in the morning. I remember watching. And honestly, it probably was Regis and Kelly at the time, not Regis and Kathy Lee, but Regis and Kelly at the time. And I believe she was talking about how in New York, and I don't know what her point was other than it was weird. Anyway, but that when they would trick or treat in in New York City, you're going in these buildings and you're going up and down, and that one of the bigwigs, the owners, or somebody from like Parker Brothers or one of the really big board game companies basically gave away full-size board games at Thanksgiving, at Halloween. And so the kids would come in and take a board game or something like that. I'm sure the story's a little bit off, but that's what I remember from it. And I remember thinking, okay, well, that's, Eric thought full-size candy bars was like a real splurge. So can you imagine us giving away, free board games? Anyway, good idea, but yeah. Anyway, okay, so I think, my friends, let me see, Eric wants me to throw some things on there. So I'm just throwing the little tickers because he told me to do all this, and I want to make sure that I make him proud. Okay, so let me see if there are any other questions. I don't think, okay, actually we do Mrs. Florida Man. Let's see, where is this one? Right, okay. Do I think interest rates will be coming down soon? So obviously the people who are in, that have that information are probably going to have a better spin on it. But I did just well, first of all, they did just come down a smidge 2 weeks ago, I think it was. But I was talking to, I did a panel for a lender out here, Cross Country Mortgage, and we talked about that a little bit, and they are the ones in the know, right? They're paying more attention. It's more vital to their industry, candidly, than it is to ours, because not everyone that buys or sells a home is doing it because they want to. And when you have to, the interest rates are going to affect the process, but it doesn't affect whether or not you have to move. So that's why, the lenders may have a little bit, skin in the game, so to speak. But yes, I do think they'll come down, but I don't know that it'll be significant. And I will tell you that that's what a lot of the lenders are saying. They know that every mortgage that they're doing right now, every loan that they're giving right now, that they know that they're going to be refinancing them, but they want to make sure that people don't refinance when it just comes down like a half a point. They're talking a significant decrease. That's when it's going to be time to refinance. But hopefully they'll be coming down soon-ish. But remember some of the things that people are doing, especially builders and sellers, candidly. I have a home right now where the sellers are offering a, in fact, here's the property. They are offering a $15,000 closing cost contribution and or not and or they will also do a 2-1 buy down, which is a little more intricate. It's a little bit complicated. I'm not even going to begin to explain it, but I do have that as a backup option. So what that does is that really does help someone who needs the assistance to get into a home. It the 2-1 buy down, in this case, it saves them like $500 a month on a mortgage payment for like the first year, and then it by the time they get to this, it refinances and they get their costs are going to be covered by the lender. So there's a lot of really good advantages. So if you're not familiar with that, mention it to someone if you're looking. But yeah, so like this home, so as I was saying, interest rates, even if the interest rates don't come down as quickly or as significantly as we might want, the market itself is adjusting. The builders have made their adjustments and are continuing to make them. And then, of course, as sellers and as listing agents, we're advising our clients as we're seeing what's happening in the market. We do have a showing for this home today. So could everyone please do this with me? Cross your fingers. I just got notification this morning that we have I think it's a 10:45 or 11 a.m. showing for this home. It is a beautiful home. And it's kind of one of those frustrating things that it's sitting there. But that's part of why there is not a realtor out there that can guarantee you a home is going to sell in a specific amount of time, or that it's going to be that they can sell it for a specific price, because we don't have control over that. Only if I was going to buy the home from my client, that's the only way I can guarantee anything. And this is definitely one of those head scratchers. But it's a beautiful home. It's just outside of Champions Gate. So if you are looking for a home, actually, it's a really nice home. Beautiful. It's got 2 islands in the kitchen, or two spots in the. It has an island and a peninsula. So anyway, so that's that one. Okay, let me double check here. Make sure. Good morning, Julia. I see you there. The prices. Jaron, I have a nephew living in Berkeley, California, and the prices there are astronomical in some areas. Yeah, I know. We have a lot of clients, honestly, that come from those 2 places, that are coming from California and they're coming from New York. And in every case, they're like, oh, the taxes are so low here. Like, it's such a better cost of living here. But then you get people that come from other areas. I've had some clients that came from like Texas, for instance, and they doubled their budget, but they still couldn't get here what they had there. So it's always going to be very regional specific. But yeah, definitely out in Cal, especially like the Berkeley area. I mean, yeah, come on, that's going to be uber expensive. All right, I'm going to do a quick zone through this. Florida man. The world needs to know, did Eric get his back shaver? Not yet. No, not yet. But not yet doesn't mean no. It just means not yet. I mean, come on. I have to have something for him for Christmas. I mean, Eric says, yes, that home is the best bargain in Orlando. Beautiful home and priced very well. The reality is, yes, it is. I mean, we do not try to sensationalize. We do not try to be a little unrealistic, I guess is probably the best word, unrealistic in pricing. We talk about that to both our buyers and to our sellers. Whether you are someone that I am assisting purchasing a home, or whether you are someone where I am assisting you selling your home, we still give you the same honest valuation of your home, because that's what we're supposed to do. Everyone's like, as a seller, you're like, I want you to sell it for the most you can. Well, of course, duh. Of course, that's what we all want to do. It behooves all of us to sell it for the highest amount possible. But we don't get to make that determination unless you've got a cash buyer coming in who's going to waive an appraisal. Then if they're borrowing money from the bank, which most people do, the lender is going to require an appraisal. So it means that your home has to be within the market, priced where it actually should be. And I will tell you that we actually have done a really good job consistently. Eric tracks this stuff. That's what I think is so good, is that whether we get the listing or not, and it's funny because usually if we don't get the listing, the home sits there, it sits there, it sits there, it sits there, and then it finally comes down. And when it comes down to the price where we told them to begin with, it ends up selling. But meanwhile, it sat on the market for 2, 3, 4 months with no activity because everyone's like, are you kidding? Come on, that's just ridiculous. But yeah, so I mean, candidly, that's not just because that's Eric and my husband and we priced the home, but it really is a fantastic home. So if you're again interested in that, maybe your own private second home, it does, just as an FYI, if anyone is interested, it does have a bedroom on the first floor and a full bath. The main master and the other bedrooms and the loft area are all upstairs. But it does have a nice fenced-in backyard, a nice big screened-in lanai, and the kitchen it has an island and a peninsula. It's actually lovely. I love that kitchen. It's got a lot of counter space. But it does have a bedroom on the first floor and a full bath on the first floor. So if that's something that you might need in your kind of, check off boxes for your home, that could be one. Anyway, okay. Let me go. So hey Kim, we had this question last week too. So yeah, I think we all are. I think, from like what Eric said last week too, is that, if we're very optimistic, I guess I should just say that way. History kind of has proven itself. And so, yeah, we also are looking for some positive changes and happy to have that situation kind of be something that we can follow along. Let's see, Daniel and Erica. Hey guys, we want to lock with the recent rate drop, but Taylor Morrison is hesitant to commit on closing timeline. Should we just move this to a different lender and forfeit builder incentives? Taylor Morrison is buying 2 points for us. Okay, you know what? This is a really good question. So Daniel and Erica are my clients, and here's the thing. That is very frustrating. In fact, after coffee time, I have to go meet some clients. That's a funny story. Depending on how that works out, we'll follow up with you next week on that one. But I have some other clients I need to follow up on because they are in a situation, as most buyers are, of needing to commit to locking in their rate, or they need to make life plans. We're coming up on the holidays. And for those people who are a little bit further along in the process and who are getting very close to closing, they just kind of need to know. But the builders will be very tight-lipped about it until they get the internal notification from the builder that we are now hitting that 30-day mark, and then they will let the title company know, and they will get things going, and you will see that flurry of activity happening about 30 days prior to closing, because at that point, they'll say, congratulations, here's your new homeowner orientation scheduled date and time, and this is your anticipated closing date. Until they get about 30 days out, they're not going to commit. And even when they get the 30 days out, trust me, it can still change. Hopefully not as much, because they at least now have a target. But that means that their internal timeline with their, their building materials and their crews, the trades coming to the home should be on schedule. But yeah, so I know that's frustrating. So basically what they're saying is, should they go to another lender? And this would be considered an outside lender, because if you don't use the builder's preferred lender, you will lose the incentives that they have given you, whether it was, $10,000 in closing costs or anything else that they had that was tied into you using their preferred lender. Then you lose that if you choose an outside. Now, first of all, my answer to you, Daniel and Erica, is you have to do what feels right to your heart and to your pocketbook. From the perspective, and I don't care what lender anyone uses, but I will tell you from experience, when you use an outside lender, it can be a very difficult and painstaking process here at the end. And I just had some clients do this. It was an absolute, not just a bumpy road, but it was, remember that little kid's bumping up and down in a little red wagon, right? And it's like, I felt like that's what we were doing the whole time at the end, because they chose to use an outside lender. And when you choose to use an outside lender, they don't understand necessarily the concept that when Taylor Morrison or Meritage or Mattamy or whomever it is, when that home is complete and they've received that CO, you are to close. And if your outside lender is not ready, if they are not ready for you to close right then and there, it can be a real problem. And that's why the process, generally speaking, and there's always exceptions to this. My latest closing clients, the JOMOs, will attest to sometimes using the preferred lender. It's also not great, but it is definitely a smoother process. And if anything happens, so here's an example, and then I'm going to move on to another one because I tend to just go on, and I'm so sorry. So I had some clients years ago. They were a lovely couple. They were older. They had already gotten their pre-approval from another lender, whoever, what they wanted to use. I sold their existing home. They purchased an inventory home from a builder that was completed. It was ready to close in 30 days. So my client said, look, we sold our home. We just want to, we want to close on this one in 30 days. We don't want to do the whole pre-approval process with another lender again. We're just going to use our outside lender. We don't need your $5,000 closing cost contribution. Boom, easy breezy, not a problem. Builders didn't have a problem with it at the time. Now, sometimes they make you still do a pre-approval with them just to get the approval to write the contract. Another conversation for another day, but you still are not obligated to use them. Anyway, so in this particular situation, the outside lender did not, I may have told you the story, but if not, it's a great repeat. The outside lender from another state or wherever did not like that the street that they were purchasing was Boulevard, abbreviated BVD, instead of BLVD, which is the more traditional kind of abbreviation for Boulevard, right? But every home in the community that was on that street was BVD. Boulevard, that way, BVD, not BLVD. Well, this outside lender's like, nope, you're going to have to get a new CO with the correct BLVD. And it was like this stupid headbutting back and forth about this outside lender not understanding you can't just get a new CO and change the abbreviation of something because you want to. And that kind of, delay was going to cost my clients a per diem. Because if they had used the builder's preferred lender, they could have closed on time and there would have been no problem. However, here's another situation, is that if you do use the builder's preferred lender, and if there is a delay that is because of their lender or because of the builder, I guess I should say, if there's a delay because of the builder, you are far more inclined to get some concession or some goodwill from the builder at that point, because you are using their preferred lender, and they're certainly not going to penalize you. If they say you're closing on December 1st, and then all of a sudden the builder comes back and says, you know what, we have to move it to December 8th because we just don't, we're not going to be able to get it done in time. Well, if it was an outside lender, that's one thing. But if it's the builder's preferred lender, you're not gonna, or I guess I should reverse that. But at any rate, the point is, if your lender is ready to close when the builder is, you'll be fine. But I have noticed that a lot of times an outside lender creates a little bit more red tape and last minute bumps that really are not necessary. That if you had used the builder's preferred lender to begin with, those conversations happen behind that magical curtain and you don't even know what's going on. And then hopefully you'll be ready to close as soon as the builder gives that okay. That was a really long explanation. Sorry, Daniel and Erica. Call me. We can talk about it in person. All right. So let me see. Susie Q, what are you seeing as the time frame on the build of new construction? That's another good question. And again, as always, it's going to vary because some builders are going back to building from dirt again, where you can pick the home site, pick the floor plan, elevation, design options, the whole kit and caboodle. Those build processes are taking between 10 and 12 months. Sometimes longer. It just depends, because some communities that are closing out, that you might be able to do that. Well, they're like a well-oiled machine at this point, so it may not take as long. But if you're like, oh, I'm going to pick my home site at this new community out in the Ovation Village at Horizon West, and you pick all of that, and then there's delays with permitting or there's delays with infrastructure, then that 10 to 12 months could be more like 12 to 14 months. So, and then on the other side of it, then there's other communities like in Waterloo. By the way, I just met with some clients yesterday, Jenny and Phil, and their lovely family, and went out, bought a home, lickety split, one day, couple hours. We went out there. We had it all mapped out ahead of time. We did not waste time. We knew exactly what they wanted. We changed floor plans, but we got them squared away. But that home has broken ground, but it's out of the permitting phase, which is about 3 months. So we could shave the 3 months off of the build timeline because 3 months of it have already happened and they've already broken ground, the pre-construction aspect of it. So instead of being 10 months, now this one might be a little bit more like 6 months. So anyway, so just kind of, the answer is there really is no consistent answer. If you build from dirt, I would expect a year. If you're building with a home that is already under construction, it's going to depend on whether or not it is just broken ground or if it's at pre-drywall. So really anywhere between probably 5 to 8 months if it's already broken ground, give or take. But again, that's gonna vary. But that's a good question too. I like that one. Any other ones? Talk about that one. Oh, this is a good one. Julie, you always have the best questions. Pluses and minuses on paying cash for a house. Okay, that's a really good one. So first of all, everyone's situation is going to be different because your cash situation may be different. The cash that you have on hand may be your whole life savings and you have nothing to pull from anywhere else. So you're going to have to make those decisions very prudently. I don't know if that's a correct word or not, but be thoughtful about your decision as to how you want to spend that. However, definitely an easier process with cash, whether it's new construction or whether it's resale. If it's resale, what's really nice about cash, and let's focus on resale first. If you purchase cash resale, technically you can probably close in about 2 to 3 weeks. As long as the title company can get the paperwork processed and do some of the behind the scenes stuff that they have to do, you can close typically a little bit quicker. Now you would have to determine whether or not the seller could get out of the house that quickly. But if that home is vacant already, that's a real advantage to you, especially if the person who owns that home has already moved somewhere else. They are probably anxious to get that sucker closed and get their money for it. So if you came in as a cash buyer, you could say, look, hey, I'm cash buyers. Here's our proof of funds. By the way, you have to have a proof of funds. That just needs to be something. It does not have to be an official formal letter from your bank. It can just be a bank statement, screenshot, something like that. But you definitely need to retract your account number or black it out. We just need a proof of funds. You need to have the banking institution name, your names, and then the balance that is in the account. But please do not give us the other personal information as far as the account number. But yeah, so you would submit your offer with your proof of funds. Hey, look, my clients, cash buyers, they're going to close, in 2 weeks. If we can get title, we can get this done, whatever the closing date is that you want on your contract or on your offer. The other good thing with that is that in resale, you don't even really have to pay more of an earnest money deposit. And I say that because when we talk about new construction and cash purchases in a minute, we'll talk about the difference. So typically your earnest money deposit on a resale home is about 1 to 2%. If you go a little bit higher, I think that's fantastic. It makes your offer, especially in a competitive market, it makes it a little bit more competitive, right? It makes it a little bit stronger. But we're kind of back to that moment of, 1 to 2% is very fair and reasonable. That money is held in escrow and you're going to be closing in 30 days. So that's usually fine. I usually try to advise my clients to do 2% because it's a little bit more than 1%, but you're not going totally crazy. But again, that's always debatable. But anyway, so you close faster. There's also no appraisal. So if you're paying cash, you don't need to have an appraisal. You can have an appraisal done, but you don't really need one because you're not financing that. The lender is not requiring an appraisal because there is no lender. So again, makes the process so much more desirable for both the buyer and for the seller. So cash, definitely a great option. Now, if you're buying cash new construction, this is important to know because a lot of people do not know that you have to still put a deposit down, even if you have a VA loan, by the way. You still are required with new construction to put down that initial deposit. And if it is a cash purchase, it is usually 10 to 20% of the base price of that home. Whereas if you were financing it, it is usually, it used to be 5%. Some builders have gone back to 5%. Some are still at 10, but let's just say 5 to 10% if you're financing, 10 to 20% if you are cash. However, if you ask, and you have to ask, you can still get the closing cost incentive. So for instance, my clients yesterday, they are cash buyers, by the way. Cash buyers, they're purchasing a beautiful home and they are getting $10,000 toward their closing costs, which will, for the most part, cover all of their closing costs on the purchase of that home. So But they had to put down, they actually ended up having to have to put down 10%, which was actually very reasonable for new construction. So again, it's kind of all over the place, but I would say expect 20%. Make sure you have the funds available for 20% that you can put down. And if it's less than that, then hurrah. And if it's resale, then again, 1 to 2% is an earnest money deposit. But the advantages in both cases would be a quicker closing. Now, if it's new construction, you still have to wait for the house to be completed, so it's not really quicker. It just makes it a lot easier for you. But definitely for resale, I've got some clients right now that are in that situation. I'm going to be meeting them in about 35 minutes. I can't wait to tell you that story. Hopefully, it turns out with a happy ending. But yeah, so definitely, I mean, obviously, cash is going to be much easier. Plus, then you're not making a mortgage payment. You own that home outright. And for a lot of people, that's a great peace of mind to know that they've got a place they can call home and it's their shelter and it is theirs. And that even if something happens, that home is paid for. So I think if you can do it, I think it's a great idea. But everyone's financial situation is different. So to speak to your financial advisor, and that's all I'll say on that one. Okay. I think I answered, Susie. I think I answered that one, right? About the time frame. And then Jaren, yeah, so any news on our screen being installed? My friend, I wish I had some news for you. We don't know anything. We are still waiting. We have not heard anything from the pool company yet about that. Originally, when they did the measurements for that, when they came out and measured, at that time, they said it was typically 3 to 4 weeks once they measured. That's been 2 months ago. It's been a long time. So clearly that timeline is out the window. And I will tell you, just kind of on that note, this is one of the reasons, and it's frustrating on every side, by the way. This is one of the reasons, and it kind of goes back to Daniel and Erica, even when you were asking about, the builder won't kind of give you any information. So this is what I hear from the builders. And then I'll tell you what I feel and speak for my clients. And then I promise we're going to go because I've done all the other fun stuff. But so the builders are reluctant in this particular market that we're in with the delays that we have that are out of the builder's control with the issues that there's so many just moving pieces and things really have to fall into place kind of perfectly. And let's face it, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be something that all of a sudden, hits that and it's not going to go smoothly. And so then that has to shift things. And when that happens, the builder, if the builder says, let's just say, for instance, hey, yeah, here's an update on your house. We're going to have the drywall is going to be dropped off on Monday. The crew is going to be scheduled to be out there on Wednesday. So we're going to hang Wednesday, Thursday. By Friday, it should be done. And we're going to plan on whatever the following week. Okay, so let's just say that's a generic timeline. That's reasonable, right? But I have had clients, you might know people that would be like this. And this is why the builders stopped doing it, because there are people that go, hey, you said that the drywall was going to be delivered today. Was it delivered? I don't see that it was delivered. I came by the house today and I didn't see anything. And I don't know really how to know if it's delivered, but I don't see anything. And so I'm really wondering, why wasn't it delivered? And are we on track? Okay, well, it wasn't delivered on Monday. So what did that just happen? So then that messed up Monday. If they were going to hang on Wednesday, are you still going to be able to hang on Wednesday? Because I need to know it, blah, 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 blah. And that's what happens. And everything can shift. And then all of a sudden, the builder is getting chewed out because they didn't deliver the drywall on Monday. And now the drywall delivery is not happening till Wednesday, but they're not going to be able to start hanging on Friday because they already were at a closing and they needed to finish up a house over here. So now that's going to get bumped. And this timeline is moving. And the builders are, and by the way, this happens for our pool company too. We had a conversation with a bigwig at the pool company, both as clients and as people in a very similar industry from a different perspective, offering some advice. They don't want to tell you anything because they don't want you to yell at them when it doesn't pan out. And our perspective is we would rather know and have some semblance of a timeline. So thinking about our screen, back to Jaren's question, if they told us from measurement 3 to 4 weeks, so now it's been 2 months, are we a little upset? Yeah, we're a little peeved because we're like, well, why did it take so long? What's going on? And we're not getting any communication. So we're all of us, I'm hugging all of you. We are all different people. Now, a lot of us, we tend to be drawn to people who we feel are at the heart and at the core very similar to who we are, or where we feel comfortable, right? We feel like, okay, well, that person's going to take care of us. They got us. And hopefully you feel that way about me. But we are all very different people. And there are so many different kinds of temperaments, of ways that people address things, the way they ask questions, the way they ask for assistance, the way they demand assistance. Some people are very, very aggressive. Some people are a little bit more subdued. Some people, like me, approach things a little bit differently. I can be a mama bear if I have to, but that is not my first go-to. My first go-to is the way that is truer to my heart, and the way that my experience has shown me that we're going to be able to get a little bit more positive, energy reciprocated on the other end. But to give no communication, and again, builders, whatever, pool company or builder, when they don't give any information to clients because they're afraid of being, not afraid, but because they don't want to be fussed at if that timeline moved, that's just frustrating. So I think that we, as the consumer, as the buyer, as the whomever, we also need to understand, and hopefully I have advised my clients well, that everything is a moving target. And we really do have to be understanding of what is and is not in our control, and what is and is not in the builder's control. And ultimately, it is the builder's responsibility to do that, that customer service, service recovery if there's a problem. And I will tell you, I'm also going through a situation right now, and I like to share some of these stories, but until we resolve it, I don't want to go there yet because it's way too complicated. So not everything is perfect. Not everything falls into place perfectly. And it's about how those builders can recover from it. But the one thing I wish all of them would do would be to communicate a little bit more about the expected timeline, because what I think they forget is that you are people. You are humans. You are families, whether you are single, whether you're grandparents and you have a whole plethora of grandbabies around you, whether you're young and starting out, you still have a life. You still have things that you need to do on a daily basis, whether you work from home, whether you have to travel to work, whatever your personal situation and story is, you still need to function and have a life while they're building your home. And you need that communication so that you can determine, well, when do I need to get my stuff packed up? When do I need to get my stuff delivered? Can I order my appliances now? Is it too early to do that? What am I going to do if the appliances are ready, but my house isn't? What about furniture? There's so many components to this that I really do think and feel that sometimes the builders and those higher ups, they just forget about that because they're focused on building your structure, your home, your shelter. And in some ways that's good. We want them to focus on that. But if it were me, I would really like that that personal kind of liaison to be able to communicate that. Okay. All right. Last thing, and then I'm getting out of here. So So yes, lack of materials, lack of workers. Yes, that is absolutely true, Cindy. You are correct, my friend. There are issues with materials, and we're having some trade issues as well. On a new build, the seller will pay, the seller will pay most of the closing costs if we use their preferred lender, but the rate is high, and they say if the rate goes down in the market, they don't go down. Any thoughts? Yeah, that's a good question, Hector. So again, that's a really good thing. So that's another example of you just have to do what feels right to you. I would suggest, candidly, that you probably consider staying with the builder's preferred lender until about, depending on where you are in the build process, usually you need to check with them, check with your person and say, where is my deadline if I choose to use an outside lender? Some of them it's 30 days, but in most cases it might be 60, even 90 days. So you need to find out from your builder, from your lender, the preferred lender, what is that deadline? Because if you miss the deadline and you're locked into them and you can't change at that point, that is their right and it will be spelled out for you. And then you're kind of stuck, good or bad. But if you do think that, hey, you know what, there's this other lender and I may forfeit the incentive, but it's gonna be better for me financially to get a lower rate or whatever the case is, you can do that. You just need to have that on standby and ready so that you can make an even swap as soon as that happens. But the most important thing is to communicate your potential desire to your builder or to your lender first, to let them know, because they have to be competitive. If they're not competitive, then why would you stay with them? But yes, I do understand if things go down, they're not going to go down. But once you lock in, it'll be time for you to make that decision as soon as you get closer to locking in on a rate. But you also don't want to have missed the opportunity to switch lenders if you need to. Hopefully that helped. If not, text me and I'll explain it a little bit more. I'm scattering. I want to try to get you guys gone because we are now 5 minutes after 10. All right, guys. So here we are. I want to tell you, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I really do hope that you were able to be surrounded with your friends and family and all those that you love. We didn't have our entire family. We were missing Alyssa and Hong for some of the other fun elements of the holiday weekend. And I, of course, didn't get to see my siblings or my mom and everybody from Virginia. But I do hope that you guys got to have a wonderful meal. I'm going to go back through this. I'm very interested to find out what meals you have at Christmas and Thanksgiving, if it's the same one. Send me some ideas of some things to watch. More than anything, I want to make sure, hold on. I have to send this one. Call or text me at 407. Eric, are you proud of me? 407-848-8042. As always, please just remember, anytime I'm talking about builders, I don't work for the builder. I work for you. I am a realtor here in the area. A lot of you are already my clients. Some of you are going to be when the time is right for you. Some of you probably bought with somebody else and you're just in for the information. But anything I say when it's builder related is based on my experience with those builders. And trust me, I have had experiences all levels with all these different builders. And I do feel like my knowledge of new construction and how the builder's perspective is going to work on this is going to be incredibly advantageous to you as the buyer, which, hopefully we're helping everybody. Eric says, good job, honey. See you tonight. Thank you, dear. I can't wait. You have to let me know what time you're arriving because I have to go pick you up. Anyway, guys, so as always, just remember that we really do care about you. Please stay safe, stay well. Remember, we love you guys and happy house hunting. Bye. See you next Monday.